Reported by the website, the Kenosha County Eye, which is a website obviously based in Kenosha, done by a guy named Kevin Mathewson. So I'm going to attribute the reporting to him. It is quite the story. We've all heard of politicians who double dip. I hear people say this all the time. I don't think I know everybody knows what double dipping means. Do you know what double dipping means? Having two jobs, or the other time it's called is sometimes while you're collecting a pension from one government, you're working for a different government at the same time. That's a racket run by a lot of school administrators. They retire at the age of 55 from a school district, get a pension, and get hired by another school district. Double dipping. It is rare to find a triple dipper. It's especially rare to find a triple dipper where at least one or two of the dips isn't a pension. This triple dipper has 3 jobs. And she's rather well known. I get, you know the reason she's rather well known, Paul? She's got 3 different government jobs. So she's known from 3 different positions. Her name is, and she goes by 2 different names. Occasionally she uses a hyphenation in her name, and other times she doesn't. In fact, I emailed her to try to get response to this, and I sent her all of the addresses. One of her email address has the hyphenated last name, and the other just uses the married name. Her name is Kathleen Weed Vincent. She's from Greendale. She's a member of the Greendale School Board. She's also a member of the Milwaukee County Board, and she is a full-time school teacher in the Kenosha Unified School District. The Kenosha Unified School District job, obviously, is a full-time job, although, as we know, teachers get lots of time off, and this might be the rare case of a teacher saying she has enough time to do the other jobs. He goes, after all, I get so much time off because I'm a teacher. But this is to say she's a full-time teacher in the Kenosha Unified School District. She is also, as I say, a member of the Milwaukee County Board, and she's on the Greendale School Board. That's 3 different gigs, all of which are paid, and the Kenosha teaching job obviously highly paid. According to the report in the Kenosha County Eye, Vincent has been disciplined repeatedly by her superiors in the Kenosha School District for violating rules often pertaining to not doing her job because she was off doing her other political gigs instead. Mathewson reported that in a number of instances in the past school year, Vincent called in sick from her Kenosha teaching job on days that she had meetings of the Milwaukee County Board. Now let's pause at this point. The Milwaukee County Board is, quote unquote, not a full-time position. It pays more than almost all government part-time positions, but it is no longer full-time. It used to be. For those of you that are newer to the area or newer to the program, we had a scandal in Milwaukee County in the 90s. It was bipartisan in terms of its reaction, and were it not for this scandal, Scott Walker's career, I think, never would have happened. It's a scandal involving Milwaukee County where, over the years, the county kept juicing up the county has its own pension system. They kept juicing it up and juicing it up and juicing it up and juicing it up and juicing it up, and finally, of all people, Bruce Murphy, who worked at the time for Milwaukee Magazine, did a story exposing it. They not only had increased the multipliers. The multiplier is you take the number by which your pension is based, and the multiplier is simply a high number that you multiply toward on the individual payout. But then they created something called a lump sum that when you retire, in addition to your annual payment, you get a lump sum check. And some of those checks were nearly $1 million. In some cases, there were some that were over. And, of course, the county board cut themselves in on the deal. It went on forever and ever and ever, and they finally just juiced it up like crazy. Well, when this happened, there was an outrage. There were recall moves against several members of the county board. The county executive, Tom Amond, resigned under pressure in the middle of all of this. One of the reforms that happened as a result of this is there was a referendum of the voters in Milwaukee County to reduce the size of the board. Virtually all local county boards have too many members. Some are abusive. There's like nearly 40 in Waukesha County. There's just no reason for that. Well, in Milwaukee County, we reduced the size of the board, and then we reduced their pay. By reducing their pay, you also, clearly the workload wasn't the same, but the workload never was much of anything, which is one of the scandals of this being a so-called full-time job. There's very little for a supervisor to do on a daily basis. Milwaukee aldermen are full-time as well, but you can at least argue, they have large districts, people have complaints about trash and the traffic and that and the other thing. As jobs go, Milwaukee City Council is very, very soft job. But there are more things to do, but there's never much for the county board members to do, so reduce their salary. So her position on the county board is part-time, but it's not like real part-time. I don't have the salary in front of me, but it seems to me it's a high teens or low 20s. It's in that range. In other words, it's not like a little stipend of $2,500, $3,000 a year. And secondly, most Milwaukee County Board meetings are in the daytime. In other words, it's not like, say, the city, Paul's from the town of Cedarburg. Second time we mentioned that. I'm sure your town board meets at night. Most smaller communities, that's when they occur. Milwaukee County Board, the committee meetings, the meetings of the county board, the policy meetings, et cetera, other than like a public hearing where the public comes in, most of these meetings are held in the daytime. And a lot of the supervisors are down there at the county thing and so on. So she's got this gig. Well, she's a full-time teacher and a full-time teacher in a community 25, 30 miles away in Kenosha. And then in addition to all of that, she lives in Greendale. She runs for the school board, so she's on the school board in Greendale. Most of those things happen at night, but she's the president of the board, so she's got some, all of that. Now, I'm sure she's going to say, I can handle all three and I juggle the responsibilities, except Matthewson's report of the Kenosha County Eye is that she's been disciplined repeatedly in Kenosha, in the Kenosha School District for not doing her job. Now, again, I've contacted Vincent to get a response, and I sent an email to all of her email addresses. It took me more time to put the email addresses than it did to ask my questions, because I emailed her at her Kenosha Schools email, I emailed her at her Greendale School Board email, and I emailed her at her Milwaukee County Board email. She did not, as of airtime, 3:05 at least, respond. So I'm going to quote here in the report in the Kenosha County Eye. According to public records, she has had a hard time juggling the three roles and has actually been disciplined several times by the Kenosha Unified School District for doing elected duties while working for KUSD, that's Kenosha Unified School District, as a teacher, among other things. In an undated letter in Vincent's personnel file, she was found to have committed serious misconduct, including theft of time. What's theft of time? Theft of time is you're not doing your work on the time you're being paid to do the work. Theft of time. For example, she was accused of calling in sick to her job at KUSD at least a half dozen times to attend Milwaukee County Board meetings. She was paid by the taxpayers to attend a non-Kenosha School District event in which she was paid for by both entities. In other words, she was compensated by both Kenosha and one of the other government entities for an event she attended. In the same letter, she was found to have participated in virtual Zoom meetings for Milwaukee County and Greendale School District while students were in her classroom. Oh, I will tell you, I've heard crap on politics. I do not believe I've ever heard of this before. A teacher was participating in a Milwaukee County Board meeting via Zoom while conducting class. Did the same thing with Greendale. Again, they wrote her up for this, according to the Kenosha County Eye thing. So, in other words, they found out and they wrote her up for it that she was literally taking part in a government Zoom meeting at a time that she's sitting in there supposedly teaching a class. She would give the students, back to the Kenosha County Eye, quote, busy work so that she could take care of her elected positions on the Kenosha County taxpayers' dime. I don't recall ever. I guess when I was in grade school, I sort of recall busy work. That was like they would tell you to draw or something, right? But I mean, the teacher wasn't usually, it was usually when I in grade school, they were mostly nuns. The nun didn't have like a Zoom meeting and when she wasn't participating in like, in like the Appleton City Council meeting. Have you ever heard of anything like this? I mean, I'm not saying it's never happened. I just think, I swear, I've heard it all because for one thing, I look for stuff like this. Continuing. Vincent reported to the assistant principal that she was on her phone repeatedly on a field trip because she was being slandered for her in her Greendale school board election. Now, when she's running for the school board, now it's not even a duty, political campaign, they were running a field trip, and she couldn't get off the phone because she was dealing with the issues in her campaign for the school board in Greendale. And again, two of her positions are elected. The Greendale position is elected, Milwaukee County Board is elected. The Kenosha School District position, obviously she's a teacher, that's a position for which you're hired. In the letter, multiple students and parents complained about Vincent's unprofessional and targeting behavior. It was reported that a student was taking photos and videos in Vincent's classroom. Doesn't say this, but why do you think that they were taking photos in her classroom? Paul, come on, you need to be as cynical as me. But yeah, why would students taking photos of her in the classroom? Because she was goofing off. She was doing this other stuff. So anyway, it was reported that a student was taking photos and videos in Vincent's classroom. She said that she would file a report with the police. They wrote her up, the school district wrote her up as saying, well, it is a violation of school board policy for kids to take photos in class. It's not a crime. The police would not be involved in that. Hey, see, the nuns never needed to threaten the police on us. They were far more harsh than any crook was ever going to be, right? Even the high school teachers. After several more reports of misdoings in Vincent's classroom, a parent pulled the student because she believed her child was being targeted and didn't want anything on his permanent record. Student was having difficulty in Vincent's class, so she was separated his desk from the rest of the class and forced him to face the wall. Reportedly, Vincent sent confidential behavioral information of students to a school dean on multiple occasions. Vincent emailed the entire Kenosha School District School Board and identified herself as a Kenosha School District teacher and the president of the Greendale School Board, seemingly to gain favor with the board. In a June 3rd, 2023 letter from the school's principal to Vincent, a list of expectations was authored. So now the principal of her school down in Kenosha sent her a letter. These are your expectations. In this letter, it was made clear that Vincent should only be doing Kenosha School District activity while working at Kenosha School District. So in other words, her principal writes her up a letter saying, when you're working here at Kenosha, you should only be doing Kenosha School's business. So apparently it's just open that she's pulling this crap. Finally, earlier this year, Vincent was written up and issued discipline. In the letter, the principal stated in part, quote, and again, this letter was apparently obtained by the Kenosha County Eye, and they're reporting. I want to make it clear that none of this is my exclusive reporting, that I'm reporting on the work of another. You're being issued a written warning pursuant to Board Policy 4226 and 4391 for the continued usage of multiple devices at KTEC West. That's apparently the school. This has been a topic of concern since last school year, 2022 to 2023. On multiple occasions during the school year, I had discussions with you about this issue. I told you that multiple devices and working for other education entities is not permissible. I told you that this behavior cannot continue. The aforementioned issue has caused collaboration with colleagues to be extremely difficult due to your engagement in other non-Kenosha School District activities during your prep time. Often your door is closed or you have turned colleagues away due to taking phone calls and meetings for another school district employer. In other words, she's apparently during the school time closing her door when other school officials need to talk to her about various things in the school and so on, because this is when she's on the phone doing her stuff for either Greendale or Milwaukee County. Continuing. While your prep time is time for you to work on school-related needs, either as a team or individually, it is being used for activities not related to your Kenosha School District responsibility. This issue has disrupted the professional learning environment of our staff and educational programming of our students. This letter is considered a discipline in nature, and any further violations will result in further actions such as suspension or termination. So again, I've contacted Vincent regarding this, and again, for those of you coming in, she's on a school board. So you've got a teacher in a school district who's being written up for being a crappy teacher and not doing her job and being distracted. In the meantime, one of her jobs is she's a school board supervising the teachers in Greendale. And in addition to that, she's on the Milwaukee County Board. Now, one of the questions I've asked her is, and I'm intrigued by this. There's a lot of things I'm intrigued by because I have a cynical, suspicious mind. Have you picked up on that? I have a cynical, suspicious mind. There are parts of being a cop that I'd be good at. This is one of them. First of all, I guarantee you, one of these three governments is providing her with her health insurance benefits. I want to know which one. I also want to know if there's two of them. My guess is not, because most of them probably require a payment also by the employee, thanks to Act 10 being in place. Which one is paying for her health insurance? I'm also asking her whether or not she is serving time applicable to future pensions from all three of these employers. And Milwaukee County board members, even though they're not full-time jobs, still earn time toward the pension. And as I said, in Milwaukee County, the pensions are off the charts lavish. One of the things that we were not able to do in the wake of the pension scandal was lower the benefits. That's a violation of federal law. The only way you can lower pension benefits is if you go bankrupt. And this is why, a lot of private companies that had lavish pensions in the past have had a difficult time paying them through, and so on. One point I'll make with regard to this. At the time that she ran for the county board, and Greendale, for those of you not from Milwaukee, is in south central Milwaukee County. Greendale, very near Greenfield. Communities get confused. It was well known that she was a full-time teacher in Kenosha at the time she was running for the county board. She's also on the school board in Greendale, the three jobs. And my guess is she told everybody, I can handle all three, I can handle all three. Yeah, well, I guess we can handle all three. And one of the ways that we can handle all three is that she's taking time away from teaching the kids in Kenosha. Now, I did not have an opportunity to run. It's not as easy to find all of these things immediately. What her salary down in the Kenosha School District is. Salaries, of course, are based in part on educational background and experience, but she's no spring chicken, so she's probably been a teacher for a while. I don't know if her entire teaching career, though, has been in the Kenosha Unified School District. And again, if you want to find this story, Kenosha County I is the name of the website. Kai Matthewson, he reports on it, digs up all sorts of things. I got another one for you. This seems like a throwaway. This is